The Daily Revolution, 10 Principles for Personal Transformation. Prologue. The quiet revolution begins within. You stand at a crossroads every morning when you open your eyes. One path leads to the same routine, the same frustrations, the same version of yourself you've been carrying for months or years. The other path leads somewhere different, not through grand gestures or dramatic overhauls, but through small, deliberate choices that compound over time. This book is not about overnight transformation. It's not about life hacks, shortcuts, or miraculous breakthroughs. It's about something far more powerful and sustainable. The quiet revolution that happens when you decide to take ownership of your daily existence. When you choose to become the architect of your own growth, rather than a passive observer of your life. The principles in these pages were born from a simple recognition. Most people are not failing because they lack capability or potential. They're struggling because they've never learned to harness the power of consistent, intentional action. They're waiting for the right moment, the perfect conditions, or external validation to begin living the life they envision. But transformation doesn't wait for permission. It doesn't require perfect circumstances. It requires commitment to a process that most people abandon before they see results. The revolution begins not with fanfare, but with the decision to show up for yourself day after day, regardless of how you feel. Each chapter contains a principle that, when practiced consistently, will gradually reshape your relationship with yourself and your future. These are not theories or philosophies. They are practical tools that demand action. The goal is not to read about change, but to live it. You have everything you need to begin this revolution. You don't need more time, more resources, or different circumstances. You need the willingness to start where you are, with what you have, and to trust the process even when progress feels invisible. The person you're meant to become is waiting on the other side of consistent action. This book is your guide to closing that gap, one principle at a time, one day at a time. Your revolution starts now. Chapter 1. Reclaim your prime hours. The hours between 5 and 9 a.m. hold more potential than most people realize. While the world sleeps, while notifications remain silent, while the demands of others haven't yet invaded your space, this is when real transformation happens. Not because these hours are magical, but because they belong entirely to you. Most people surrender these hours without a fight. They hit snooze repeatedly, scroll through social media in bed, or stumble through their morning in reactive mode. They start their day responding to other people's priorities before they've even considered their own. This sets a pattern of reactivity that follows them for the remaining 16 hours. But what if you chose differently? What if you treated your morning hours as sacred time, not for sleep, not for distraction, but for deliberately crafting the person you're becoming? The mathematics of morning transformation are simple yet profound. If you reclaim just 2 hours each morning for focused work on your goals, you gain 14 hours per week. Over a year, that's 728 hours of pure, uninterrupted growth time. While others are sleeping or scrolling, you're building the foundation for a different life. This isn't about becoming a morning person overnight. This is about recognizing that your day has a natural rhythm. And the early hours offer the clearest thinking, the strongest willpower, and the fewest distractions. When you align your most important work with your brain's natural peak performance, you work with your biology rather than against it. Consider what happens when you start your day with intention rather than reaction. You make deliberate choices about how to use your mental energy before it gets depleted by decisions, conversations, and unexpected demands. You invest your cognitive resources in your own growth before the world asks you to invest them elsewhere. The resistance you feel when your alarm sounds isn't a sign that you need more sleep. It's the voice of your comfort zone trying to maintain control. Every time you override that resistance and choose action over comfort, you're rewiring your relationship with difficulty. You're proving to yourself that you can do hard things, that you're not controlled by your immediate feelings. Physical movement in these early hours serves a dual purpose. It activates your body's energy systems and simultaneously trains your mind to embrace discomfort. Whether to run, strength training, yoga, or a long walk, you're not just improving your fitness. You're practicing the skill of doing what needs to be done regardless of how you feel about it. The quiet of early morning also provides ideal conditions for deep work. Your mind hasn't yet been fragmented by the day's demands. You can think in longer arcs, work on complex problems, and make progress on projects that require sustained attention. This is when you write the first draft, learn the new skill, plan the business, or study the subject that will advance your career. But the true power of reclaiming your prime hours goes beyond productivity. It's about identity transformation. When you consistently use your best energy for your own growth, you begin to see yourself differently. You're no longer someone who hopes for change. You're someone who creates it. You're not waiting for the right moment. You're making every moment right through your choices. The compound effect of morning discipline extends throughout your entire day. When you begin with achievement, you carry that momentum forward. Challenges feel more manageable because you've already accomplished something meaningful. Distractions have less power because you've already invested in what matters most. This practice requires no special equipment, no perfect environment, no ideal circumstances. It requires only the decision to treat your morning hours as an investment in your future rather than an extension of yesterday's patterns. Start with 1 hour. Use it for what matters most to your growth. Protect it from interruption. Make it non-negotiable. The version of yourself you're meant to become is already awake, waiting for you to join them in those quiet morning hours. Chapter 2. Design your environment for success. Your environment is silently shaping every decision you make. The books on your shelf, the notifications on your phone, the people you interact with, the spaces where you spend your time. All of these elements are either supporting your growth or sabotaging it. Most people live in environments that make their goals harder to achieve, then wonder why progress feels like constant struggle. Environmental design isn't about having perfect conditions. It's about creating conditions that make your desired behaviors easier and your destructive patterns harder. It's about removing friction from the actions that serve you and adding friction to the habits that don't. Consider the power of visual cues. If you want to read more, place books where you'll see them throughout the day. If you want to exercise, lay out your workout clothes the night before. If you want to eat better, fill your kitchen with nutritious options and remove the processed foods that undermine your energy. These small adjustments remove the need for willpower and decision-making in moments when your motivation is low. Your digital environment requires even more intentional curation. The average person checks their phone over 150 times per day, each check potentially derailing their focus and emotional state. Your phone can be a tool for growth or a gateway to distraction. The choice is in how you configure it. Remove apps that drain your attention. Turn off non-essential notifications. Create barriers between yourself and the digital quicksand that keeps you scrolling instead of building. The people in your environment influence your trajectory more than you might realize. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, not just in terms of income or success, but in terms of mindset, habits, and standards. If you're surrounded by people who complain, make excuses, or settle for mediocrity, you'll find yourself adopting those same patterns. But if you seek out people who challenge you, who embody the qualities you want to develop, who support your growth, you'll naturally elevate your own behavior. Physical spaces carry emotional weight and psychological impact. A cluttered desk creates mental clutter. A disorganized living space reinforces chaotic thinking. When you take time to organize your physical environment, you're also organizing your mental environment. You create space for clear thinking, focused work, and intentional living. Your information diet is another crucial environmental factor. What you read, watch, and listen to becomes the raw material for your thoughts. If you consume content focused on problems, drama, and negativity, your mind will naturally generate more of the same. But if you choose content that challenges you to think bigger, teaches you useful skills, or inspires you to take action, you'll find yourself naturally thinking in those directions. The key is to audit your current environment honestly. Walk through your living space and ask, does this support the person I'm becoming or the person I used to be? Look at your social media feeds and ask, is this information helping me grow or keeping me stuck? Examine your daily routines and ask, are these patterns moving me toward my goals or away from them? Environmental design also means creating rituals and systems that support your desired behaviors. If you want to journal regularly, create a specific place for writing with your journal and pen always ready. If you want to cook healthier meals, organize your kitchen so that nutritious ingredients are easily accessible. If you want to learn new skills, set up a dedicated learning space free from distractions. The magic of environmental design is that it works automatically. Once you've structured your surroundings to support better choices, those choices become easier to make. You're no longer fighting against your environment. You're working with it. Your external world begins to reflect and reinforce your internal commitment to growth. Remember that you have more control over your environment than you might think. You can't control everything, but you can influence much more than you realize. Start with your immediate surroundings, your bedroom, your workspace, your car. Make these spaces reflect the values and goals you're pursuing. Let them serve as constant reminders of who you're becoming. Environmental design is not about perfection. It's about intention. It's about making conscious choices about what influences you daily. When you take responsibility for shaping your environment, you take a massive step towards shaping your future. Chapter 3. Master the art of single tasking. In a world obsessed with multitasking, the ability to focus completely on one thing has become a superpower. While everyone else fragments their attention across multiple streams, toggling between tasks, notifications, and distractions, you can gain an extraordinary advantage by learning to direct your full mental energy toward a single objective. The myth of multitasking has cost more dreams than any other productivity lie. Research consistently shows that what we call multitasking is actually rapid task switching, and each switch comes with a cognitive cost. Your brain needs time to refocus, to remember where you left off, to rebuild the deep concentration necessary for meaningful work. Those seconds add up to minutes, and those minutes add up to hours of lost potential every day. Single tasking isn't just about productivity. It's about quality of experience. When you give something your complete attention, you enter a state of flow where time seems to dissolve and your capabilities expand. You think more clearly, work more efficiently, and produce better results. More importantly, you experience a satisfaction that comes from deep engagement with meaningful work. The practice begins with choosing what deserves your undivided attention. Not everything is worthy of deep focus. Some tasks can and should be done quickly or delegated. But for the work that matters, the projects that move you toward your goals, the learning that expands your capabilities, the creative work that expresses your vision, these demand your complete presence. Creating boundaries around your focus work requires both physical and digital discipline. Close unnecessary browser tabs. Put your phone in another room. Use noise-canceling headphones if needed. Inform others that you'll be unavailable during your focus blocks. These might seem like small actions, but they send a powerful message to your brain. This work is important enough to protect. Time boxing is a practical technique for developing single tasking skills. Choose a specific duration, perhaps 25 minutes to start, and commit to working on one task for that entire period. No checking email, no quick Google searches for unrelated topics, no responding to messages. Just sustained attention on the work in front of you. When the timer ends, take a short break, then begin another focus session. The mental muscles required for deep focus atrophy when not used regularly. If you've been living in a state of constant distraction, returning to single tasking will initially feel difficult. Your mind will rebel. It will generate urgent thoughts about other tasks, convince you that you need to check something quickly, or create discomfort that feels like you're missing out on something important. This is normal. This is your brain adjusting to a new pattern of operation. Single tasking also reveals the difference between motion and progress. When you're constantly switching between activities, you can feel busy and productive while accomplishing very little substance. But when you focus completely on one important task, you often achieve more in 1 hour than you would in 3 hours of fragmented work. Learning to tolerate the initial discomfort of sustained focus is crucial for developing this skill. Your mind is accustomed to immediate gratification, to the dopamine hits that come from checking notifications or switching to easier tasks when work becomes challenging. Single tasking asks you to sit with difficulty, to work through problems rather than around them, to develop mental endurance. The practice extends beyond work tasks to include conversations, meals, and leisure activities. When someone is speaking to you, listen completely rather than planning your response or checking your phone. When you're eating, taste your food rather than consuming it while watching television. When you're walking, Notice your surroundings rather than being lost in mental chatter. This kind of presence enriches every aspect of your experience. Quality emerges from sustained attention in ways that scattered effort cannot achieve. Whether you're writing, learning, problem-solving, or creating, your best work comes from periods of uninterrupted focus. The insights, the breakthroughs, the elegant solutions, these arise when your mind can dive deep rather than skim the surface. The confidence that develops from single tasking extends beyond work into every area of life. When you know you can focus completely on what matters, you feel more capable of handling whatever challenges arise. You trust your ability to give situations the attention they deserve. You become someone who finishes what they start. Technology companies profit from your distracted attention. Social media platforms are designed to fragment your focus and keep you switching between stimuli. Reclaiming your ability to focus deeply is an act of rebellion against systems that benefit from your scattered attention. Start today with one task that matters to your future. Give it your complete attention for a defined period. Notice resistance, work through it, and observe the quality of work that emerges from sustained focus. Practice this daily until single tasking becomes your natural mode of operation. The depth of your focus determines the depth of your results. In a world of shallow work and scattered attention, the person who can focus completely possesses an almost unfair advantage. Chapter 4. Build your knowledge foundation daily. Your mind is either expanding or contracting. There's no neutral territory in personal development. Each day you either feed your intellect with valuable information and insights, or you allow it to atrophy through entertainment, gossip, and mental junk food. The choice you make consistently determines not just what you know, but who you become. Knowledge isn't just information, it's the raw material for better decisions. Every book you read, every skill you develop, every concept you master becomes a tool you can use to navigate life more effectively. The person who reads about psychology understands human behavior better. The person who studies economics makes smarter financial choices. The person who learns about communication builds stronger relationships. Knowledge is leverage. The commitment to daily learning doesn't require massive time investments. 30 minutes of focused reading can transform your understanding of a subject over time. One well-chosen podcast during your commute can introduce you to ideas that reshape your perspective. A single online course, consumed gradually, can develop skills that advance your career or personal life significantly. But not all learning is created equal. Entertainment masquerading as education fills your time without improving your capabilities. True learning challenges your existing beliefs, forces you to think differently, and provides practical tools you can implement immediately. The test of valuable learning is simple. Can you apply this knowledge to make your life better today? Reading books, real books, not just articles or social media posts, develops cognitive abilities that no other medium can match. It strengthens your attention span, improves your vocabulary, enhances your ability to follow complex arguments, and exposes you to minds far more experienced than your own. A person who reads regularly develops mental muscles that serve them in every area of life. The compound effect of daily learning is staggering. If you read just 10 pages per day, you'll complete roughly 15 books per year. Over a decade, that's 150 books worth of knowledge, insights, and wisdom that shapes your thinking and decision-making. Meanwhile, the person who chooses entertainment over education remains intellectually the same person they were 10 years ago. Choose your learning sources carefully. Seek out authors who challenge conventional thinking, who have achieved what you want to achieve, who offer practical wisdom rather than empty motivation. Read biographies of people who've overcome significant obstacles. Study subjects that expand your understanding of how the world works. Learn skills that increase your value in the marketplace or enhance your personal effectiveness. Active learning trumps passive consumption. When you encounter a valuable insight, don't just nod and continue reading. Stop and think about how this applies to your current situation. Write down the key points in your own words. Discuss the ideas with others. Look for opportunities to implement what you've learned immediately. Knowledge without application is just intellectual entertainment. The learning mindset also means becoming comfortable with not knowing things. Intellectual humility allows you to absorb new information without the resistance that comes from ego protection. When you encounter ideas that contradict your current beliefs, instead of dismissing them immediately, examine them thoughtfully. Some of your most valuable learning will come from discovering that something you believed was wrong or incomplete. Develop the habit of asking better questions. Instead of how can I get rich quick? Ask, what skills and knowledge do successful people in my field possess that I don't? Instead of why is this happening to me? Ask, what can I learn from this experience that will help me handle similar situations better in the future? Better questions lead to better answers and better learning. Learning also requires unlearning. Some of what you currently believe is holding you back. Some of your habits and thought patterns were formed during earlier phases of your life when you had different knowledge and different goals. Continuous learning means being willing to update your mental models when you encounter better information. The discipline of daily learning builds cognitive resilience. When you regularly challenge your mind with new information and perspectives, you become more adaptable, more creative, and more confident in your ability to figure things out. You develop intellectual independence, the ability to think through problems rather than simply accepting what others tell you. Your learning doesn't always have to be formal or structured. Engaging conversations with people who know more than you, carefully observing successful people in your field, analyzing your own mistakes and successes, these are all forms of valuable learning. The key is intentionality, actively seeking opportunities to expand your understanding rather than passively hoping wisdom will somehow find you. Make learning visible in your life. Keep books where you can see them. Subscribe to educational content rather than entertainment. Join communities of people who value growth and intellectual development. When learning becomes a visible priority, it naturally receives more of your time and attention. The knowledge you build today becomes a foundation for the opportunities you'll recognize tomorrow. The insights you gain this week become the tools you'll use to solve next month's challenges. Learning isn't just about accumulating information. It's about becoming the kind of person who can think clearly, act wisely, and create value wherever you go. Start today. Choose one subject that's relevant to your goals and commit to learning something new about it every day. Read, listen, study, practice, and apply. Make learning not just something you do, but something you are. The person who never stops learning never stops growing. Chapter 5. Transform your relationship with difficulty. Most people live their entire lives avoiding discomfort. They choose the easy conversation over the necessary one. They take the familiar path rather than the challenging one. They stay in situations that don't serve them because leaving requires facing uncertainty. This relationship with difficulty, this instinct to flee from anything that feels hard, is the single greatest obstacle to personal transformation. But what if difficulty wasn't your enemy? What if discomfort was actually a compass pointing toward growth? What if the things you're avoiding are precisely what you need to embrace to become who you're meant to be? The most successful people in any field have developed an unusual relationship with difficulty. They don't enjoy discomfort, but they've learned to interpret it differently. When they encounter resistance, they see opportunity. When they face challenges, they see development. When they feel afraid, they see important work that needs to be done. This shift in perspective doesn't happen overnight. It requires deliberately seeking out manageable challenges and proving to yourself that you can handle more than you think. Start with small difficulties. Having a conversation you've been postponing, learning a skill that feels slightly beyond your current abilities, or breaking a habit that provides comfort but undermines your goals. Physical challenges are particularly effective for building comfort with discomfort. When you push yourself in the gym, run when you don't feel like it, or hold a challenging yoga pose, you're training your mind to stay present with difficulty rather than seeking escape. This mental training transfers to every other area of your life. The language you use to describe difficulty shapes your experience of it. Instead of saying, "This is too hard," try, "This is developing my capabilities." Instead of, "I can't do this," try, "I can't do this yet." Instead of, "This is stressful," try, "This is growth." These subtle shifts in language reframe challenges as opportunities rather than threats. Difficulty is often a sign that you're working on something important. Easy tasks rarely lead to significant growth or meaningful results. If everything in your life feels comfortable, you're probably not pushing yourself toward your potential. The discomfort you feel when attempting something challenging is not a signal to stop. It's a signal that you're expanding beyond your current limitations. Learn to distinguish between productive difficulty and pointless suffering. Productive difficulty comes from pursuing worthy goals, learning valuable skills, or having important conversations. It's the discomfort that comes with growth. Pointless suffering comes from staying in situations that don't serve you, holding on to resentments, or repeating patterns that keep you stuck. One leads to expansion, the other to stagnation. Building tolerance for difficulty also means building tolerance for uncertainty. Many of the best opportunities in life come with no guarantees. Starting a business, pursuing a relationship, moving to a new city, changing careers. These all require acting without knowing exactly how things will turn out. The person who needs certainty before acting will miss most of life's best possibilities. The confidence that comes from successfully navigating difficulty compounds over time. Each challenge you face and overcome becomes evidence that you can handle whatever comes next. Your relationship with fear changes. Instead of seeing fear as a stop sign, you begin to see it as information about what might be worth pursuing. Difficulty also reveals character in ways that ease never can. Anyone can be positive when things are going well. Anyone can be motivated when they're seeing immediate results. But how you respond when things get hard, when progress stalls, when obstacles appear, this shows who you really are and who you're becoming. The practice of voluntary discomfort, deliberately choosing harder paths when easier ones are available, builds resilience that serves you when involuntary difficulties arise. When you've trained yourself to handle challenges you choose, you're better equipped to handle challenges you don't choose. Most people's comfort zones shrink over time. They become less willing to try new things, take risks, or face uncertainty. But you can reverse this trend by regularly stepping outside your comfort zone in small ways. Order something different at a restaurant. Take a different route to work. Start a conversation with a stranger. Learn a skill that feels intimidating. These small acts of courage accumulate into a larger willingness to embrace difficulty. The relationship between difficulty and reward is direct. The challenges you're willing to face determine the results you're able to achieve. If you only pursue easy goals, you'll only achieve easy results. But if you're willing to embrace difficulty, to work through problems rather than around them, to persist when others quit, you'll access opportunities and results that most people never experience. Transform your relationship with difficulty starting today. Choose one area of your life where you've been avoiding necessary discomfort. Face it directly. Move toward the challenge rather than away from it. Notice that you're stronger than you believed, more capable than you feared, and that difficulty isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. Chapter 6. Cultivate presence in a distracted world. Presence is becoming extinct. In an age of infinite stimulation, constant connectivity, and endless entertainment options, the ability to be fully where you are has become increasingly rare and increasingly valuable. Most people live in a perpetual state of mental elsewhere, thinking about the future while missing the present, reliving the past while opportunities slip by, consuming content while life happens around them. But presence isn't just about meditation or mindfulness practices, though these can be helpful. Presence is about developing capacity to direct your attention consciously rather than allowing it to be hijacked by whatever demands it most loudly. It's about choosing what receives your mental energy rather than defaulting to whatever feels most urgent or entertaining. The modern attention economy is designed to fragment your consciousness. Every app, platform, and service profits from capturing and monetizing your attention. Notifications are engineered to create compulsive checking behaviors. Social media feeds are optimized to keep you scrolling indefinitely. News cycles are structured to generate anxiety and dependency. You're not fighting distraction. You're fighting billion-dollar industries whose success depends on your scattered attention. Reclaiming presence requires intentional resistance to these systems. It means creating spaces in your day where your attention belongs entirely to you. No notifications, no multitasking, no background noise. Just your conscious awareness focused on what you choose to engage with. This isn't about becoming a hermit or rejecting technology. It's about using technology deliberately rather than being used by it. The practice of single-pointed attention can begin with simple activities. When you eat, Taste your food instead of consuming it while scrolling. When you walk, notice your surroundings rather than being lost in mental chatter. When someone speaks to you, listen completely rather than formulating your response. These moments of full presence break the pattern of perpetual distraction and rebuild your capacity for focused attention. Presence transforms the quality of everything you do. A conversation where you're fully engaged creates deeper connection than an hour of divided attention. 10 minutes of completely focused work often accomplishes more than an hour of distracted effort. A short period of full presence with yourself provides more insight than hours of unconscious mental activity. The anxiety and restlessness that many people experience isn't usually about their external circumstances. It's about their relationship with the present moment. When your mind is constantly elsewhere, you never feel grounded anywhere. You're always mentally preparing for the next thing while missing what's happening now. This creates a chronic sense of being behind, overwhelmed, or dissatisfied. Learning to be present also means learning to tolerate boredom. In a hyper-connected world, any moment of unstimulated time feels uncomfortable. But boredom is often where creativity emerges, where important thoughts surface, where you reconnect with your own inner voice. The person who can't sit quietly with themselves for 10 minutes without reaching for entertainment has lost touch with their own mind. The quality of your presence determines the quality of your relationships. People feel the difference between someone who's physically present but mentally elsewhere and someone who's completely engaged. Children especially notice when adults are present with them versus when they're distracted by devices or mental preoccupations. Your presence is one of the greatest gifts you can offer others. Developing presence also improves your decision-making abilities. When you're mentally scattered, you make choices based on impulse, emotion, or incomplete information. But when you're present, you can access your full intelligence. You notice details you might otherwise miss. You consider options more thoroughly. You act from clarity rather than reactivity. The practice of returning to presence can be as simple as noticing when your mind has wandered and gently bringing it back to where you are. This isn't about judging yourself for being distracted. Distraction is natural. It's about developing the skill of recognizing when you've drifted and consciously choosing to return to the present moment. Physical practices support mental presence. Regular exercise, proper breathing, adequate sleep, and healthy nutrition all contribute to your ability to stay present. When your body feels good, your mind can focus more easily. When you're physically depleted, mental presence becomes much more difficult to maintain. Presence is not a destination but a practice. You don't achieve it once and maintain it forever. You develop it through repeated returns to conscious awareness throughout your day. Each time you choose presence over distraction, you strengthen this capacity. Each time you choose to engage fully with what's in front of you, you deepen your ability to live consciously. The irony of presence is that by focusing completely on the present moment, you naturally create a better future. When you're fully engaged with your current actions, you perform them better. When you're completely present in your relationships, they improve. When you give your full attention to your goals, you achieve them more efficiently. In a world that profits from your distraction, presence becomes an act of revolution. Start practicing it today. Choose moments throughout your day to be completely where you are, doing what you're doing, with full awareness and intention. Your future self will thank you for the quality of attention you're developing right now. Chapter 7. Embrace strategic discomfort. Comfort is the enemy of growth. Every time you choose what feels easy over what challenges you, every time you select familiar over unknown, every time you pick safe over meaningful, you're training yourself to live smaller than your capabilities allow. The life you want exists on the other side of your current comfort zone, and the only way to reach it is by systematically expanding your tolerance for discomfort. Strategic discomfort is not about suffering for its own sake. It's about deliberately choosing challenges that develop your capabilities, character, and confidence. It's the discomfort that comes from pursuing worthy goals, not the pain that comes from poor decisions or self-destructive behaviors. It's the productive tension of growth, not the destructive stress of chaos. Physical discomfort is often the most accessible starting point. Your body provides immediate feedback when you push beyond your current limits. Whether through exercise, cold exposure, fasting, or other physical challenges, you learn viscerally that you can handle more than you initially thought. This lesson translates directly to mental and emotional challenges. Cold showers provide a perfect example of strategic discomfort. The physical shock is intense but brief, and the mental training is profound. For 30 seconds or a minute, you choose to stay present with extreme discomfort rather than seeking escape. You learn that discomfort is temporary, that you can breathe through difficulty, and that comfort isn't necessary for survival or even well-being. Intellectual discomfort comes from engaging with ideas that challenge your worldview, reading authors who disagree with your political beliefs, studying subjects that reveal gaps in your knowledge, or learning skills that initially make you feel incompetent. These forms of discomfort expand your mental flexibility and prevent intellectual stagnation. Social discomfort might involve having conversations you've been avoiding, setting boundaries you've been afraid to establish, or pursuing relationships with people who intimidate you because of their knowledge or achievements. These interactions stretch your social capabilities and often lead to unexpected opportunities. The key is to choose your discomfort rather than having it chosen for you. Life will provide involuntary challenges regardless of your preferences. But when you regularly practice voluntary discomfort, you build the resilience needed to handle whatever involuntary difficulties arise. You become someone who meets challenges head-on rather than being overwhelmed by them. Financial discomfort might mean living below your means to invest in your future, starting a business despite uncertain outcomes, or making career moves that sacrifice short-term security for long-term growth. These choices require tolerating financial anxiety in exchange for building wealth and opportunities over time. Emotional discomfort often involves sitting with difficult feelings rather than immediately seeking distraction or comfort. When you feel sad, angry, or anxious, instead of immediately trying to change these feelings, you practice experiencing them fully. This builds emotional intelligence and reduces the fear of negative emotions that keeps many people stuck in limiting situations. The practice of strategic discomfort builds what psychologists call distress tolerance. Your ability to handle difficult emotions and situations without making impulsive decisions or engaging in destructive behaviors. People with high distress tolerance can stay focused on their long-term goals, even when facing short-term challenges. Creative discomfort involves pursuing projects where you might fail publicly, sharing work before it feels ready, or attempting things outside your established expertise. The fear of judgment or failure keeps most people from ever exploring their creative potential. But creative growth requires risking bad work in service of eventually producing good work. Professional discomfort might mean taking on responsibilities beyond your current skill level, speaking up in meetings when you normally stay quiet, or pursuing opportunities that feel slightly beyond your qualifications. These calculated risks develop professional capabilities faster than staying within your established competence zone. The timing of strategic discomfort matters. Don't overwhelm yourself by choosing multiple forms of discomfort simultaneously. Pick one area: physical, intellectual, social, financial, emotional, creative, or professional, and commit to regular practice there. Once it becomes manageable, add another dimension. Remember that discomfort is temporary, but the capabilities you develop by working through it are permanent. The confidence you gain, the resilience you build, the skills you develop, these become part of who you are. They can't be taken away by changing circumstances. Document your experiences with strategic discomfort. Notice how your initial anxiety often exceeds the actual difficulty of the challenge. Observe how your confidence grows when you successfully navigate situations that once seemed impossible. Track how your tolerance for uncertainty and difficulty expands over time. The goal isn't to become someone who seeks suffering, but to become someone who doesn't avoid important work because it feels hard. To become someone who recognizes that the path to everything you want runs directly through temporary discomfort. To become someone who embraces challenge as the price of growth rather than viewing it as punishment to be avoided. Start today with one small challenge that makes you slightly uncomfortable. Stay present with the discomfort instead of seeking escape. Notice that you can handle it. Notice that it passes. Notice that you're stronger on the other side. Then do it again tomorrow. Chapter 8. Create systems that think for you. Willpower is overrated and unreliable. Motivation comes and goes like weather patterns. But systems well designed, automatic processes that guide your behavior, these work regardless of how you feel on any given day. The most successful people don't rely on constant motivation or superhuman discipline. They create systems that make their desired behaviors easier and their destructive patterns harder. A system is a structured approach to achieving consistent results. Instead of hoping you'll remember to exercise, you create a system. Workout clothes laid out the night before, gym bag packed, specific time block in your calendar, backup plan for when your primary option isn't available. The system removes the need for daily decision-making and makes the desired behavior as automatic as possible. Financial systems provide clear examples of this principle in action. Instead of hoping you'll save money each month, you set up automatic transfers from checking to savings. Instead of relying on willpower to avoid overspending, you use only cash for discretionary purchases. Instead of hoping you'll invest wisely, you automate contributions to diversified index funds. The system handles the discipline, so you don't have to. Effective systems are designed around your weaknesses, not your strengths. If you tend to skip workouts when you're tired, your exercise system needs to account for low-energy days. If you struggle with healthy eating when you're busy, your nutrition system needs to include quick, healthy options that require minimal preparation. Good systems assume you'll be imperfect and build in safeguards accordingly. The power of systems lies in their ability to remove decision fatigue from your daily routine. Every decision you make depletes your mental energy slightly. By the end of a day filled with countless small choices, your ability to make good decisions about important things is compromised. Systems eliminate unnecessary decisions by making your responses automatic. Morning routines exemplify systematic thinking. Instead of deciding each morning what to do first, you follow a predetermined sequence. Wake at a specific time, drink water, exercise, shower, eat, review your priorities for the day. This system ensures that important activities happen regardless of your mood or energy level. It also creates momentum that carries into the rest of your day. Habit stacking is a powerful system-building technique. You attach new desired behaviors to existing established habits, creating chains of automatic actions. After you brush your teeth, existing habit. You write in your journal, new habit. After you pour your morning coffee, existing habit. You review your daily goals, new habit. The established habit becomes a trigger for the new behavior. Information systems help manage the constant flow of data, ideas, and inputs that could otherwise overwhelm your mental capacity. This might include specific folders for important documents, note-taking methods for capturing insights, or regular review schedules for processing accumulated information. Without systems for managing information, valuable insights get lost in mental clutter. Relationship systems ensure that important connections receive appropriate attention. This could include regular check-ins with family members, systematic networking for professional development, or structured approaches to meeting new people. Relationships don't maintain themselves automatically. They require systematic attention to thrive. Learning systems accelerate skill development by creating structured approaches to acquiring new knowledge. Instead of random learning, you might dedicate specific time blocks to particular subjects, follow progressive curricula, or maintain reading lists organized by priority and relevance to your goals. Systematic learning compounds much faster than sporadic education. The best systems are simple enough to maintain during stressful periods. Complex systems that work only when you're highly motivated will fail when you need them most. Design your systems for your worst days, not your best ones. They should function even when you're tired, stressed, or dealing with unexpected challenges. Regular system maintenance prevents gradual decay. Review your systems monthly to identify what's working and what needs adjustment. Systems that serve you at one stage of life might need modification as your goals and circumstances evolve. Flexibility within structure allows systems to remain effective over time. Documentation makes systems transferable and improvable. Write down your key processes, not just in your head, but on paper or in digital form. This allows you to refine them systematically and share them with others who might benefit. It also provides clarity about what you're actually doing versus what you think you're doing. The most powerful systems often involve preparing your future self for success. This might mean preparing healthy meals on Sunday for the entire week, laying out clothes the night before important meetings, or keeping emergency funds available for unexpected opportunities. You're creating conditions that make your future choices easier and better. Environmental systems shape behavior by removing barriers to desired actions and adding barriers to undesired ones. If you want to read more, place books throughout your living space and remove televisions from bedrooms. If you want to eat better, stock your kitchen with healthy options and avoid keeping junk food readily available. Start building systems today by identifying one area of your life where you currently rely on motivation or willpower. Design a simple, automatic process that would produce the results you want regardless of your momentary feelings. Test it for a week. Refine based on what you learn, then gradually add additional systems as each one becomes automatic. Remember that systems serve you, not the other way around. If a system creates more stress than it eliminates, modify it. The goal is to create more freedom in your life by automating the basics, not become enslaved by rigid processes. Chapter 9. Develop unshakable mental resilience. Mental resilience isn't about being tough all the time or never feeling negative emotions. It's about developing capacity to maintain your direction and values when life becomes challenging, uncertain, or painful. It's about building internal stability that doesn't depend on external conditions remaining favorable. Resilient people aren't immune to difficulty. They've learned to work with it rather than being broken by it. They understand that setbacks are information, not verdicts. They see obstacles as temporary rather than permanent. They maintain perspective during both success and failure, neither getting too high during good times nor too low during challenging periods. The foundation of resilience is accepting that difficulty is not optional in human life. Pain, loss, rejection, failure, and uncertainty are universal experiences. The question isn't whether you'll face these challenges, but how you'll respond when they arrive. Resilient people prepare for difficulty by developing coping strategies before they're needed. Cognitive flexibility is crucial for maintaining resilience. This means being able to reframe situations, consider multiple perspectives, and adjust your thinking when circumstances change. Instead of getting locked into one interpretation of events, resilient people can find alternative ways to understand what's happening that preserve their ability to move forward constructively. Physical practices contribute significantly to mental resilience. Regular exercise doesn't just improve your physical health. It teaches your nervous system to handle stress more effectively. Cold exposure, challenging workouts, and other forms of voluntary physical stress build confidence in your ability to tolerate discomfort. When your body is strong and adaptable, your mind follows suit. Emotional regulation skills prevent temporary feelings from derailing long-term goals. This doesn't mean suppressing emotions or pretending everything is fine when it isn't. It means learning to experience difficult emotions fully without being controlled by them. Anger, sadness, fear, and disappointment are information about your experience, not instructions for your behavior. The practice of perspective-taking builds resilience by helping you zoom out from immediate problems and see them in broader context. A project failure feels devastating when it's your entire focus, but less significant when viewed as one data point in a longer career trajectory. A relationship conflict feels overwhelming in a moment, but manageable when you remember that all relationships involve periodic difficulties. Building resilience also requires developing what psychologists call internal locus of control, the belief that your actions and choices significantly influence your outcomes. This doesn't mean believing you control everything that happens to you, but rather focusing your energy on what you can influence rather than what you can't. Mental resilience grows through gradual exposure to manageable challenges. Like physical fitness, it develops through progressive overload, gradually increasing your capacity to handle difficulty by consistently working at the edge of your current capabilities. This might mean taking on slightly more responsibility, pursuing moderately ambitious goals, or engaging with people who challenge your thinking. The stories you tell yourself about your experiences shape your resilience. Are you the victim of circumstances or the author of your response? Are your setbacks evidence of your inadequacy or opportunities to develop new capabilities? The narratives you construct about your life either build resilience or erode it. Choose empowering stories that acknowledge difficulty while maintaining your agency. Social connections provide external resources for building internal resilience. Relationships with people who believe in your capabilities who offer honest feedback, and who model effective responses to challenges give you both emotional support and practical guidance. Isolation during difficult times tends to amplify problems and reduce your access to alternative perspectives. Learning from adversity transforms painful experiences into valuable assets. Every challenge you overcome becomes evidence of your capability. Every problem you solve becomes a tool for handling similar issues in the future. Every setback you recover from becomes proof that you can handle whatever comes next. This accumulated evidence builds unshakable confidence in your resilience. Recovery practices are essential for maintaining resilience over time. You can't operate at maximum intensity indefinitely. Regular rest, relaxation, play, and rejuvenation prevent burnout and maintain your capacity to handle stress effectively. Resilience includes knowing when to push forward and when to step back and recover. The goal of building resilience isn't to become invulnerable. It's to become adaptable. Life will change in ways you can't predict or control. Industries will evolve. Relationships will shift. Health challenges may arise. Economic conditions will fluctuate. Your ability to adapt to these changes while maintaining your core values and long-term direction determines your ultimate life satisfaction. Mental rehearsal strengthens resilience by allowing you to practice responses to potential challenges before they occur. Visualizing how you'll handle difficult conversations, imagining your response to career setbacks, or mentally preparing for financial challenges helps you develop confidence in your ability to navigate future difficulties. Start building resilience today by identifying one area of your life where you tend to avoid difficulty. Instead of seeking the easy path, consciously choose a more challenging option. Notice that you can handle more than you initially thought. Build this evidence systematically until resilience becomes not just a skill you possess, but an identity you embody. Resilience is not a destination, but a practice. It's the daily choice to face reality clearly, respond thoughtfully rather than reactively, and maintain your commitment to growth regardless of external circumstances. In an uncertain world, it's the one capability that serves you everywhere. Chapter 10. Master the rhythm of sustainable progress. Sustainable progress operates on a different timeline than our instant gratification culture teaches us to expect. Real transformation happens through consistent, modest actions repeated over extended periods, not through sporadic bursts of intense effort. Understanding and mastering this rhythm is essential for creating lasting change without burning out or giving up. The marathon mindset stands in direct opposition to the sprint mentality that dominates modern productivity culture. Sprint thinking encourages maximum effort for short periods, leading to inevitable crashes and inconsistency. Marathon thinking prioritizes pace over speed, sustainability over intensity, and long-term results over immediate gratification. Progress rarely occurs in straight lines. Growth happens in cycles. Period of advancement followed by plateaus, breakthrough moments followed by integration phases, expansion followed by consolidation. Understanding these natural rhythms prevents you from interpreting normal plateaus as failures and helps you maintain effort during less visible growth periods. Energy management becomes more important than time management when you're focused on sustainable progress. You have a finite amount of mental, physical, and emotional energy each day. How you allocate this energy determines your results more than how many hours you work. Systems that preserve and optimize your energy allow you to maintain consistent effort over extended periods. The 80-20 principle applies powerfully to sustainable progress. Roughly 80% of your results come from 20% of your actions. Identifying which activities produce the most significant outcomes allows you to focus your limited energy on high-impact behaviors rather than spreading it across numerous low-value activities. Rest and recovery are not obstacles to progress. They're essential components of it. Your mind and body need time to integrate new learning, repair from challenges, and restore energy for future efforts. Systems that include deliberate recovery periods are more sustainable than those that demand constant forward motion. Seasonal thinking helps align your efforts with natural energy cycles. Just as nature has periods of growth and dormancy, your personal development benefits from recognizing when to push forward aggressively and when to focus on maintenance and preparation. This might mean pursuing intensive learning during certain months, while emphasizing reflection and planning during others. Progress tracking systems provide feedback that sustains motivation during long-term pursuits. When you can see evidence of gradual improvement, even small improvements, you maintain confidence in your process during periods when results aren't dramatically visible. This might include fitness measurements, skill assessments, or regular reflection on personal growth. The compounding effect is the mathematical foundation of sustainable progress. Small improvements, maintained consistently over time, create exponential rather than linear results. Reading 10 pages daily seems insignificant until you realize it equals 15 books per year. Saving $50 weekly feels modest until you see the account balance after 5 years. Sustainable progress requires accepting that some days will be better than others. Perfect consistency is neither possible nor necessary. The goal is to maintain your practices more often than you abandon them, to return quickly after interruptions, and to focus on long-term trends rather than daily variations. Building buffer capacity into your systems prevents small problems from becoming major derailments. This might mean scheduling extra time for important projects, maintaining emergency funds for unexpected expenses, or developing multiple options for achieving key objectives. Resilient systems anticipate problems and prepare alternatives. The identity shift that accompanies sustainable progress is often more valuable than any specific achievement. As you consistently practice new behaviors, you begin to see yourself differently. You're not someone trying to become disciplined. You're someone who is disciplined. You're not hoping to get in shape. You're someone who prioritizes fitness. This identity evolution supports continued growth because your actions align with your self-concept. Momentum cycles are crucial for understanding sustainable progress. Starting new habits requires overcoming significant initial resistance. Maintaining established habits requires much less energy. But returning to abandoned habits often requires nearly as much effort as starting fresh. This is why consistency is more valuable than intensity. Maintaining momentum is easier than rebuilding it. The plateau paradox explains why many people abandon effective systems just before they would produce dramatic results. Improvement often occurs in sudden jumps preceded by long periods of seemingly static effort. The person who stops practicing just before the breakthrough misses the payoff from all their previous work. Environmental factors either support or undermine sustainable progress. Your physical surroundings, social connections, information diet, and daily routines all influence your ability to maintain beneficial behaviors over time. Designing your environment to support your systems reduces the willpower required to maintain them. Sustainable progress requires learning to find satisfaction in the process rather than only in outcomes. This doesn't mean being content with poor results, but rather developing appreciation for the daily practice of growth itself. When you can find fulfillment in showing up consistently, results become a bonus rather than the sole source of motivation. Start by choosing one area of your life where you want to create lasting change. Design a system that you can maintain even during your busiest, most stressful periods. Make it simple enough to continue when motivation is low, but meaningful enough to produce real results over time. Focus on consistency rather than perfection, and trust that small actions, repeated persistently, create extraordinary outcomes. The rhythm of sustainable progress is quiet, steady, and powerful. Like water gradually shaping stone, consistent effort applied over time transforms both your capabilities and your character. Master this rhythm, and you master the art of becoming who you're meant to be. Epilogue, the long game. 6 months from now, you'll be living differently if you apply these principles consistently. Not because your circumstances will necessarily change dramatically, but because you will have changed. The person who reclaims their prime hours, designs supportive environments, masters single tasking, builds knowledge daily, embraces difficulty, develops systems, and maintains sustainable progress becomes someone capable of creating whatever life they envision. The transformation won't be loud or obvious to casual observers. You won't suddenly become a different person overnight, but the people who know you well will notice something has shifted. You'll carry yourself with more confidence. You'll speak with greater clarity. You'll handle challenges with less stress and more capability. You'll pursue your goals with quiet persistence rather than anxious urgency. This isn't the end of your growth journey. It's the beginning of a more intentional approach to living. The principles in this book aren't quick fixes or temporary strategies. They're lifelong practices that deepen and strengthen over time. As you become more skilled at applying them, you'll discover nuances and applications that aren't immediately apparent. The real measure of success isn't how perfectly you implement every principle, but how consistently you return to these practices when you drift away from them. Everyone abandons their systems occasionally. Everyone has days when presence feels impossible and discomfort feels overwhelming. The difference between people who transform their lives and those who remain stuck isn't perfection, it's persistence. Your future self is counting on the choices you make today, not the dramatic, one-time decisions that feel important in the moment, but the small, daily choices that seem insignificant but accumulate into everything. The book you read instead of watching television. The workout you complete despite being tired. The difficult conversation you have instead of avoiding. The system you maintain even when no one notices. The world needs people who have done the work of becoming their best selves. People who can think clearly, act decisively, and contribute meaningfully. People who aren't controlled by their moods, their circumstances, or their past patterns. People who can be counted on to show up, do quality work, and maintain their principles under pressure. You have everything necessary to become that person. Not someday when conditions improve, but starting now with what you have. The revolution begins with your next choice. Choose wisely. The long game starts today.